Good on the tape?
7:34. Okay, here we go.
All right,
Set.
I'll call the meeting to order. This is the September 29, 2015 meeting of the Town Planning and Zoning Commission of the Town of Fairfield. First item on the agenda is Bills and Communications, meeting minutes from September 8, 2015.
I'll move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Barretts,
I'll second.
second by Alessi. Everybody have a copy? Chance to look at that? Any questions, changes? No?
Who's in for Commissioner Calabria?
Oh, who's up next?
Yeah, so that's a good
Okay,
question.
that's, I think, going to be Mark, isn't it? Let's see. Mr. Noonan sat in place last time for Mr. Alessi. Ms. Francis sat in place for Ms. Jacobson. So it's going to be Mark.
Okay.
And then read down.
So wait a minute, I thought I said this,
It
Okay.
was the last one, so we'll go back to the top
and
again.
I'm okay with it.
Well, yeah, but Mr. sat in place for Ms. Jacobson on the following applications.
Just go
So,
back up
okay.
to the top.
Well, that's what I just did. So, well, then I guess it's Tom again then.
Yep, go right back to the top. All right, Tom, you said.
Okay. And, Commissioner Alessi, did you watch the tape?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
Okay. I think that's the only one that was absent.
I watched the tape,
You were absent as well?
yeah.
Okay.
And I watched it on TV.
Okay. Good. All right. Anybody have any other questions? Nope. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Minutes are adopted unanimously. Next item is 309 Barberry Road, proposed re-articulation of reason number 3 for denial.
Briefly, I'll go over what this is really all about. When we sent out the notice of decision, Chairman contacted the office, and if you look at reason number 3, actually the second sentence, it basically says there is no evidence that the proposed offices for charitable institutions will be nonprofit entities. And then it goes on. What he mentioned, what Matt thought he remembered, is that the actual phrasing of that condition was, and if you go to this last page, is the revised number 3, it would read, it has not been demonstrated that the proposed use is a permitted use in that there is no evidence that the proposed nonprofit entities will be charitable institutions, nor has it been demonstrated that the proposed use is in compliant, is compliant educational facility. What we did is we talked to the town attorney. He said, just check the transcript and see exactly what it said. We did that, and the proposed revision is actually what was said. So he said there's no problem in us going ahead just to renew that, review that, and change and re-articulate it based on the record. So it's correct now.
Thank you. So we can open up for discussion after a motion. The motion would be to approve the re-articulation as set forth in the proposed paper that's in the packet.
Correct.
So, could I have a motion? Motion approved by Commissioner Coleman,
Second.
second by Commissioner Jacobson. Thanks. So, just to add a little bit, it was actually my my comments which really drove this this particular reason, and the point I was making is that not all nonprofits are charitable institutions, and asked the applicant, directly during the public hearing whether they could tell us anything about what was proposed for those nonprofits, and they, didn't have any answer. So that that reason was just switched, so we're correcting this for the record.
Are we only discussing number 3, we're discussing the whole thing?
Only number 3 is
But the point
is
being
on
is
the
that,
agenda.
my question, Mr. Chairman, the point being that if we vote to approve, we're simply approving the re-described language. We're not necessarily changing our vote, for example.
No.
On the overall matter. We're not approving number 3, we're approving a change to.
Correct.
That's
To-
all. And
to
evidence
accurate-
to
correct.
reflect your remarks.
Correct. To accurately reflect in the statement of denial the reasons that were expressed on the record at the hearing. Commissioner Barrett.
Yeah, I support this. This is just a flip-flop of words. It's clear what you meant. So,
Right.
I don't think we should talk about this application anymore
Right.
than
No.
just
No,
this,
just-
because it's already decided.
It's
You
procedural.
can't talk about it anymore.
Right. I mean, I think
But
that if somebody had a question about what was presented on the record, if for some reason someone had thought that that was not what was said, then we should talk about that. But, we did go back and look at the transcript and the tapes, and, but that,
We
Yeah.
confirm that wording.
It's clear to me, but based on my recollection, that they kept saying these are nonprofits. We said, yeah, they're nonprofits, but will they be charitable? That's what the new language states. So
Exactly.
the other language just had the words flip-flopped. I think it's fine.
correct. Okay, any other discussion? We ready to vote? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, the item carries unanimously. Next item is 300 Quincy Street, request of Alfonso Camarada Jr. for a 50% release of a $35,598 bond pertaining to subdivision improvements in an A zone.
All right, Mr. Chairman, the TPZ approved this two-lot subdivision back on December 9th, 2014. The bonded improvements included drainage structures, catch basins, concrete curbs, monuments, ramps, sidewalks, street trees, and site stabilization. Engineering department has gone out and reviewed, and essentially what's left to be completed is the final grading of the lots, a couple driveway aprons, a portion of the sidewalk, and some curbing. In the engineering department's opinion, and they submitted a letter for our record, that there is more than enough left of the bond, if you were to release 50% of it, to cover what's left to be completed. So they're recommending the 50% release.
Thank you.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Kennelly, second by Commissioner Noonan.
The work's been done. Proceed.
Very good.
Based on the recommendation, move to release.
Very good. Anyone else have any comments? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The release is carried unanimously. Next item is 5151 Park Avenue, request of Sacred Heart University for a 100% release of a $115,480 bond pertaining to special exception improvements in the R3 zone.
Yeah, the TPZ Commission approved this student service building back in February 23rd, 2010. If you're familiar with the campus, this is a building that was constructed, it's essentially behind the convalescent home,
Yeah.
right behind there. It's in the middle of the campus. The bonded improvements that were completed or included was drainage, included some catch basins, manholes, and an outlet structure for drainage, and also the site stabilization. As I mentioned before, we do have an engineering review and report that says all the work that was outlined for bonding has been completed to their satisfaction, and they're recommending 100% release.
Remember that. Big bond. Yeah.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Motion approved by Commissioner Kennelly,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Coleman.
Based on the recommendation, we should approve.
Thank you. Ditto? Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. Very good. Anyone else have any questions? All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Item carries unanimously. Next is 479 Westway Road, request of Attorney Jacqueline Kaufman for a one-year extension of special permit in the Design Residential District.
Yeah, this is going to seem familiar to you all. I think we did send you a copy of the letter from Attorney
Kaufman?
Kaufman, thank you, outlining why they're requesting this extension again. They were not available at the time the request was made, and they, as you see outlined in their letters, some of the reasons why they feel they would like to continue or have the project at least extended at least another 1 or 2 years. Just to refresh your memory, this was an application that was approved back on October 10th, 2006. It was basically five three-story residential buildings containing a total of 16 dwelling units. It's approximately 6.8 acres. There's a gatehouse, open space adjacent to the parcels, some parking and relative site improvements. The statute that this comes under is outlined in her letter. It's familiar to you all. Up until this statute was passed, we were able to extend the application year by year up to 9 years. The statute was amended to allow a request for for an additional 5 years on permits that were approved at this time. That's why when the 9-year period, basically, which is up next month, October 10th, the permit would lapse unless you were to grant this extension. I don't know what else, I mean, I'm sure you all had an opportunity to read the letter. I have nothing else to basically state, just, they're asking for reconsider their request. And my understanding is they're not asking for the whole 5 years, they're asking for 2 years. The only thing I'll mention is that there is pending.
It says 1 year extension.
Right.
At least, I mean, the
least.
language of the request is
There is a
at least 1
pending
year.
appeal of the original denial of the extension. The only reason why I mentioned 2 years is there was a letter that was submitted to the town attorney, basically stating that if we wanted to settle the pending appeal, that the 1 to 2 year period is what they would be requesting. I mean, it is what it is. It's no different than what you've heard before, other than the additional explanation that the attorney, now this is the attorney for the seller of the property. This is the reason why they feel it's necessary for the extension.
Very good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, so it's a motion, it's a request for reconsideration of the prior denial, and now they're asking for an extension of at least 1 year. So presumably, if there was a motion to be made, it would be either to approve for a specific period or to deny. All right? Commissioner Lessy.
I'll make a motion to deny. the
I'll second
application.
Motion to deny by Commissioner Lessy and seconded by Commissioner Kennelly. Commissioner Lessy?
Like I said, it's been, we went through this round 1, this is now round 2 or 3, and it's been 9 years. And I don't like in the paragraph in Ms. Kaufman's letter here that's kind of holding us hostage, saying that, if we don't approve their extension, it's going to continue to sit dormant indefinitely. Well, you know what, you had 9 years, and if you had something pending now, you wouldn't need a 2-year extension. You would need maybe a 3 or 4 month extension to close on the property and get something to us, and that's not the case here. So this is just, as far as I'm concerned, another wasteful delay. So, you know what, we've changed our regulations several times over the 9 years. Something also as recently as a few weeks ago that would affect this property. So, based on the new regulations, I'd like to see something that, if it's going to be built in the area, it conform with the regulations that we have today, not what we had 9 years ago.
I agree with the reasoning of the Vice Chair.
Okay. Very good. Does anyone else have any comments?
Yeah,
Commissioner Barrett?
Completely agree. I can't believe, I mean, this is not an as-of-right thing, like when you get 90 days extra to file a subdivision map. I mean, it's been 9 years, as Mr. Lessy said. The regulations have been amended, and then, in fact, recently here, I see when this letter says, nor had any substantial changes been adopted by the TPZ affecting the applicable regulations. No, there was one done, we just approved the minutes for one there, so there is, and that's why they have these time limits on these things, because time, experience, and reasonable planning do change how you look at something. So I agree. I mean, if they want to come back with a revised application, we absolutely should hear it. But that's what I think we should do. Not have this commission approve something that none of them were even here to approve. Don't know anything really about 9 years ago. So I think the time has run out. So I'd support the motion to deny.
Anyone else? No? Yeah, so it is discretionary. And the statute says that the extensions may be granted. It's not as of right. So, I also agree with the logic here. So I'll be supporting the motion to deny. Anyone else? Questions, comments? We're ready to vote? Okay. The motion is to deny the request for reconsideration. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The motion to deny is unanimous. Next item is new applications to recommend a public hearing. First is 400 Mill Plain Road, special exception application of BSL Fairfield Development LLC pertaining to an assisted living facility in an A zone.
All right, this is Benchmark Seniors Living is seeking to develop an 88-unit assisted living facility on approximately 2 acres at the 400 Mill Plain Road. The Carrollton Home, they're seeing property behind the Carrollton Home. The building would be a 3-level with underground parking, 50 vehicles, 18 additional surface spaces. There would be direct access to the high school road and additional access shared with Carlton. If you're familiar with that area, there's a road that runs parallel to the Carlton property. It would feature 68 traditional assisted living units and 20 living unit memory care wing for those diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's and dementia. Assisted living facilities are permitted as per section 5.1.4 of our regulations, subject to receiving a special permit approval consistent with our section 27, including section 27.49 with respect to assisted living facilities. Requires a public hearing, and that's why it's placed down there for the recommendation.
Very good, thank you.
I'll make a motion to move it to public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Kennelly, second by Commissioner Coleman. Any comments or discussion? It's required, so. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The recommendation to public hearing is unanimous. Next item is 1851 North Benson Road, re-subdivision application of Van Broet Estates LLC for 2 lots in an A zone.
This is a 25,253 square foot lot located north of the Fairfield U, fronting on North Benson Road. It has an existing house there. The proposal is to demo a portion of the house and divide the property into 2 lots, one of 11,520 square feet and the other 13,377 square feet respectively. One lot will have the house remaining, the existing house, and then, of course, there will be a new lot. This is an A zone. The A zone lot size minimum is 9,375 square feet. Because it is a re-subdivision of a past, it was a portion of a lot of a past subdivision, it requires a public hearing.
Thank you.
Make a motion to move the public hearing.
Motion by Commissioner Alessi,
Second.
second by Commissioner Jacobson. It is required. Anybody have any other further comments or discussion? All right. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Carries unanimously. Next is 54 Sasko Hill Road, zone change application of Love Where You Live LLC to establish a Residence A zone on land presently zoned Design Commercial District.
Yeah, both C and D are essentially the same application. One is for a zone change, the other one is to construct a single-family home. I think you'll remember this area, this property currently has an office building on it. What the applicant is requesting here is a permit for the property to build a single-family residence. To do this, though, however, because the current property is a design commercial zone, is they're filing with us an application to amend or change the zone to residential A, which is the residential zone that's adjacent to the property. Right now, the current property contains an existing, as I mentioned, 1-story, 1,800 square foot commercial building. Again, a CAM application is required as part of this application, and will be reviewed, be presented at the public hearing. And because of the zone change and the application, a public hearing is required. But again, I'm sure it's familiar, if you remember, there was an application to basically demo the current office building and build a mixed use. What they're doing under the current zone, what they're doing is just requesting a change to residential A and to build a single-family home.
Very
But it
good.
does require a public hearing.
Thank you.
Do you want to link C and D, or do you want to just do them separately?
Just do them separate.
All right, motion to approve, a motion to move to public hearing item C.
Thank you. Motion to approve by Commissioner Kennelly,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Alessi. Public hearing is required, it's a zone change. Anybody else have any comments, questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, abstentions? Carries unanimously. Next is 54 Sasko Hill Road, coastal site plan application of Love Where You Live LLC for the construction of a single-family dwelling.
Motion to move to public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
All right, well, we heard the summary. Yep, we did. We heard the summary from the previous call.
I'll
Thanks.
second it.
Motion by Commissioner Kennelly and seconded by Commissioner Alessi. And it's, public hearings required, so anyone have any other comments or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, abstentions? Carries unanimously. Next item is 2465 Black Rock Turnpike, zone change application of New Way Associates LLC to establish a design commercial district on land presently zoned neighborhood design district and residence AAA.
Again, both E and F are essentially the same application. This should be very familiar to the board. This property, as you know, is located on the south side of Black Rock Turnpike. It's 17.27 acres. On April 20, 2015, the commission denied an application for a zone change in the construction of a two-story, 25,000 square foot medical office use. This decision is currently on appeal, as we all know. The application includes a separate, at that time, included a separation of approximately 2.5 acres parcel for the office building. As in the previous application, the proposal is to remove the existing plant factory structure and construct a single two-story, 25,000 square foot office building. Here's the key. The applicant, if you feel it's the key, the application would differ in two respects, this one. One is that there would be no second lot being created as part of this proposal, as a part of this application. The applicant is also agreeing, although I think this was mentioned at the last hearing, that the commission could impose a condition of approval with a deed restriction satisfactory to the town attorney that would restrict any future development to the additional acreage, be only permit a 2-acre building lots, which is basically what is permitted in our AAA zone, which would be the zone that's left over. Here is the map, just to confirm the fact that this is the current setup. This is Black Rock Turnpike. Oops, sorry.
That's okay, Scott.
Joe, can I just ask one question as you get started?
Yeah.
The biggest thing I want to ask about is because, as I recall, one of the key reasons why certain members opposed this last time was related to traffic safety issues related to the entrance. Has the
Yep.
entrance on this been changed significantly?
Well, what they did,
Impact sideline.
not the actual entrance itself, but if you remember, and that was the other thing I was going to mention, with the property line now being removed, the only line you see here is the area that's proposed for the zone change. Is if you remember, there was an alternative access, that's gone also. So that is somewhat of a, well, it is a change from what they were proposing before. Is that significant enough for some commission members to feel there's no longer? I don't know. But
You have a question?
that's the change.
Mr. Chairman, is the address on the agenda correct? Because I recall that it was like in the 4000 series in Black Rock Turnpike. How is it 2465? Isn't 2465 like down near HSB Bank and Swanson?
No, it says 4820,
Yeah, it's like,
4185.
right, 4185, but
No,
on the
it's
agenda says
2465.
I didn't
2465.
type this. I was on vacation.
I was pretty sure it was like 4185.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mr. Went made a mistake.
Yeah, the public.
That's all.
Go ahead, Scott.
I was like, where's 2465? That's like,
Put
Sorry,
in big bond.
that number is
down near
incorrect.
Swanson.
It is 4185 Black Rock Turnpike.
So,
Significant change.
okay, so let's,
You can amend the,
that's,
Yes.
that's, so,
Wasn't here.
you're done with the summary, right?
yeah, that was, very simply, it's essentially the same, but there's no second lot and no access.
So, do we need to have a motion to amend the agenda by a 2/3 vote?
I think we'll put in the minutes, we'll just confirm that, in fact, the
Application being discussed is
yeah, and that the address on the
agenda.
is incorrect, and that will include the proper
Okay,
address in the minutes.
all right. Well, we don't even have a motion yet, so why don't we do, why don't
I will make a
entertain
motion to move the public hearing, 4185 Black Rock Turnpike, New Way Associates.
Right, so for item E, and also
For
to
a zone
amend,
change
and
application.
how about this, and also to amend the agenda to correctly reflect the proper address.
And, say that again?
And to amend the agenda to properly reflect the correct
That-
address.
I got it.
Okay, yes, to include that as well.
All right.
Okay.
So, motion to approve and amend the agenda by Commissioner Alessi and seconded by Commissioner Coleman. All right. Okay, so, so this is discretionary, right? Because this is within 12 months of the denial of the application that was previously before us.
Correct.
And so I think the major issues that we had was the subdivision of the property in the back and the concern that there would be other development, that we didn't know what was planned for that back lot. So they've reconfigured it, they've taken out the strip of land in the front there that they were sort of reserving for an entranceway for the back other lot. And so really the question then is, you know, do we want to hear this application again as revised?
I have a question. Mr. Chairman, this condition of approval that the remaining area would be, they would accept a condition of approval that there
It would be a deed restriction.
for
Yeah.
the remaining land to be 2-acre zoning.
Right.
What kind of force of law does that have
Well-
going forward? You know, I mean, saying, couldn't it, I mean, that's, you know, because that is certainly makes this a more interesting, I mean, makes me more willing to entertain a public hearing on
Right.
that matter, you know.
Our town attorney feels it's something that could be done. I think it's going to have to be, I think it's a good question to ask the applicant at the hearing to put on the record why he feels it's something that could be maintained and enforced. But it's a deed restriction, is a deed restriction, and it's not a zoning
Right.
restriction. However, if anybody was to apply for something other than a single-family home, triple
2 acres.
a residential development there, they would have to go to court to eliminate that deed restriction.
But would they come before the commission?
No,
No. This is,
No. It wouldn't be, I think the answer is it would be enforceable, but not by us.
right.
You know, so,
I mean, ultimately, just to, since it's on the table, ultimately, our rationale for allowing this kind of an application to come back to us is usually when it's substantially, significantly different. And at least the description outside of that, it's not, you know, it's still the same, it sounds much like the same design with the carrot of the deed restriction. And so that's where I have a concern, because, as I do recall, we'd have to look at the minutes, but I do recall, well, I know for sure you made this as a point, that there was a real issue you had about the hill, if you recall, and the inability to see coming out of the site and all the rest. So if the configuration issues which drove the denial, to some extent, are really just in the same application, then you're really just trotting over the same ground. Do you know what I'm saying? They're not asking us, for example, to take an application where also they're going to be, you know, somehow asking for a zone change for the land to be AAA, the behind or something. They're just bringing back the same application with this carrot of a deed restriction. That's my concern. I mean, I had similar, I agreed with your point, but that wasn't the make or break issue for me. And if that's not being addressed in this change, that isn't changed, the reason for denial isn't changed, then how do you bring back the same application in less than a year?
Yeah.
So, I mean, fine. Yeah, I'm just saying.
no, it's a fair point. Commissioner Coleman?
You know, I think it's a fair point. My recollection, however, of our deliberation on it was that there were different make or break points.
There were.
Different members.
Yep.
And your make or break might not have gone away with this, but I think the presence of the deed restriction, even if it isn't totally clear to us at this point how that would stand up.
You supported the application.
I did.
Yes.
I did. I think I was.
You were very, no, my point is just that, because Commissioner Alessi and I.
As a commission, different people were objecting or supporting different things in it, and to me, the deed restriction is a very significant change. Even with the murkiness about, it gives us some time for research. So I would argue that we need a public hearing, because for some people, that deed restriction might be enough to change their vote.
Fair enough. Good, that's a good point.
Do we have a motion on the
Commissioner
table?
We do.
Actually.
Yeah, we do.
Somebody moved it, you moved it.
Yeah, the motion on the table is
Okay, I'm
to
sorry.
amend the agenda to correctly reflect the proper
Right, I'm
address
sorry,
and
okay.
to move it to public
Okay,
hearing.
then my
And that's been
point-
made and seconded.
Then my point, if the order of the application is what it is, because they have to change the zone before they do the special permit. I mean, we denied the zone change, and the reason for denial for the zone change would have dealt with other things other than the entrance and egress. That would be more. So I think there were various reasons for denial, like Commissioner Coleman said. You know, usually we don't, you know, there should be substantial changes to hear this again. It sounds like there's some changes, it's not the same thing. When did we hear it last? Was it February of this year?
Yeah, that's the one thing I want to make. Regardless of what you do here, the denial was in April.
It was April.
They would be
okay.
able to apply.
Next April.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, what you're talking about is a matter of 5 months, 5,
They
6
could
months.
come back with the exact same application
Absolutely.
next April.
Yep.
as of-
Right.
It only gives you a year.
Okay.
Commissioner Leslie?
I know for me, one of the reasons, a big reason for my denial of the application was the property in the back and the driveway. So, I mean, if we can do this as one lot with a deed restriction, I mean, and be as enforceable as we can with it, still knowing whatever could be done in the future, it would still be out of his body's hands. For me, I would be wanting to hear it again based on that fact alone. Because, I mean, my original issue wasn't with the property and the building itself, it was the rear lot. That was my problem. So, to me, I mean, this is, in my eyes, a significant change to hear it again now.
Okay. Anyone else? So, to address the entranceway and what have you, so my recollection is that I was, they had it at the top of the hill because they had that strip that they were reserving, and I was asking if they could move it back, because it seemed to me that that would be
Yeah.
much more safe, and they didn't want to move it because they were reserving that space. Now, they've eliminated that, because they don't need to reserve that space anymore, because they're not subdividing the back land to sort of keep that entranceway sort of, available for whatever they decided to do in the future. So, yeah, my view is consistent with Commissioner Coleman. I think that it gives us time to think about it. It's, worth it, I think, to have them present the changes that they have proposed here, and for us to consider it.
Joe, was the change, was the entrance moved further north?
It doesn't look like it was moved, although there's
They
more.
had a
they have-
sightline issue.
They have more,
Right.
yeah, I mean, their argument, their discussion at the meeting, based on their engineering, traffic engineers, that they didn't have too much flexibility in moving the entrance because of the line of sight issue. If you remember, there's a knoll on the top of the
That's-
street that comes
Right.
down to it. However, were showing that other parallel access. Does it give them more flexibility now to maybe adjust it somewhat? I don't know. That's something you could
Right.
ask at the
If I
hearing.
remember correctly, the hotel has the same entrance right across the street because of the sightline issue, too.
Yeah, I don't know how parallel it is, but it's,
Even
it's
though
the,
the hotel doesn't even have an
yeah,
entrance.
the knoll in the road is the same, they have the same problem, same issue.
So, I was looking at a small modification to that to accommodate, but they didn't want to do that because they were reserving that strip. If the strip is gone now, then we should be able to talk about it, is my point. It may not be reflected in what is presented, but it now may be something that is doable from the plan.
But it's not reflected in the plan that they're.
Doesn't look like it's adjusted that greatly from what was originally proposed, as far as the entrance.
Or could it be based on what you remember?
Yeah,
Limitations on where they can put
the,
it?
the only change as far as the access is that the proposed second access has been eliminated.
Right.
So does that give them more flexibility? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else have any more questions or comments? Okay. The motion, so we're ready to vote. The motion on the table is to amend the agenda and to move it to public hearing. It's been seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay. All in favor, except no vote from Commissioner Cannelli. Any abstentions? No? All right. The item passes, whatever the numbers are, 6 to 5 to 1? Right?
Okay, so you're the only one against.
6 to 1. 6 to 1. Okay. So we didn't move to consolidate these two, so I'll call the next one as well. 2465 Black Rock Turnpike Special Permit
Use
Application.
the right number.
41.
Well, I'm calling it as
I
written,
understand.
but, so we'll also hopefully move to amend that as well. It's 2465 Black Rock Turnpike Special Permit Application of New Way Associates LLC pertaining to the construction of a medical office building. I think we've had the summary and everything, so the motion would be
I'll make a
to
motion to amend
Address.
agenda.
the agenda to 4185 Black Rock Turnpike and move to public hearing.
Okay, motion to amend and move to public hearing by Commissioner Lessing, seconded by Commissioner Coleman. Does anyone else have any further comments on this? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay?
Okay, and any abstentions? None? So it carries 6-1. All right. Next item is old business, 721 Hulse Highway, re-subdivision application of Vargas Construction for 2 lots in a double-A zone. Public hearing 9/18/15.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Chair, just to refresh your memory, what was presented at the hearing, the subject property is located at 721 Hulse Highway. It is on the north side of Hulse Highway at an intersection with Range Road. It is bordered on the north by Wakeman Lane. It is a 2.5 acre in size and was part of a 2-lot subdivision from a 1975 split off that also maintained the historic house. The property is in a residential double-A zone and has a large barn, small barn, and chicken coop on the property, all which are planned to be taken down and removed if this subdivision is approved. The plan proposes to split the property into 2 conforming lots. Each will be served by a public water supply. Also, as represented at the hearing, the existing sanitary sewer will be extended to the intersection of Range Road so that each home will be able to tie into the sanitary sewer. And as I mentioned, the AAA zone, it has a minimum lot size of 1 acre. The proposed lots are proposed 1.26 acres and 1.24 respectively. That's what was pretty much presented. Oh, let me, if you don't mind, I just want to, again, go over really quickly the engineering comments that were discussed at the hearing. First of all, engineering and have confirmed that the line of sight is adequate for the proposed lots. It was also discussed at the hearing, there were some recommendations that the town engineer made, and have been included as requested. The storm water detention easement was provided for Lot 1, Lot 2. An existing apron will be removed and restored back to grass shoulder. Again, the plans submitted showed that. A swale has been created along each lot line that abuts adjacent properties for drainage purposes. Concrete, as required by engineering, concrete monuments will be set where feasible. If there are not, if it's not feasible, of course, iron pins will be placed in. And the other thing that was brought up at the hearing and however was not presented, but as an amendment to the plans that were submitted to the commission, that the engineering department required a submittal of additional information having to do with the rain garden. What they wanted basically was a planting plan for the rain garden, so they could confirm that in fact whatever is planted there and how it's maintained would maintain the purpose of the rain garden. So if there is an action to approve this, I would recommend that your condition of approval would include the proposed planting plan for the rain garden.
To the satisfaction of the Conservation
Town
Department.
Town engineer.
Town engineer?
Yeah.
Satisfaction of town engineer?
Correct.
All right.
And that's what was presented to the
Okay, thank you. Could I have a motion on this item,
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
with conditions as stated?
With the condition as stated.
Thank you. Motion approved by Commissioner Kennelly, with conditions.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Alessi. Thank you.
We're acting in our administrative capacity. There's no evidence of a health or safety issue on the site. The on-site traffic is all the issues are addressed. So I can't see a defendable rationale for a denial or anything like that, so.
Okay, very good. Anyone else? Commissioner Alessi?
I
No?
have nothing else to add.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's a straightforward subdivision application that complies with our regulations, and, yeah, we should approve it. Okay? Anyone else have any comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The item carries unanimously. Next item is 50-66 Umpqua Place. Special permit application of Umpqua Place 50 LLC and Umpqua Place 60 LLC for additions and alterations to establish a medical office building in the Center Design District.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, again, I'll just briefly go over what was presented to the commission. The property in question consists of 2 adjacent lots located in Umpqua Place. The first parcel, 66 Umpqua Place, presently contains a vacant 2-family home and garage. The second parcel, 50 Umpqua Place, is the former location of the Blins Toy Story. As represented at the hearing, the operator of Blins closed the business in April of that year, this year, and has sold the property to the applicant. And here we are with their application. The two parcels combined would equal 25,870 square feet. The properties, as the chairman mentioned, are located in the Center Design Business District. The intent of the applicant is to combine the two parcels, remove the existing home building and garage, and to expand the parking area and renovate the one-story Blins building into a two-story medical office building. The proposed brick-clad office building would contain 10,000 square feet. The parking required for the medical use is 50 spaces, and there are 51 spaces that are provided. The medical office use, as represented at the hearing, is permitted as per our section 12.3.4, subject to receiving a special exception approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission. As per our section 25.7, the TPC shall approve an application if it finds that the proposed use and proposed buildings and structures conform to the zoning design requirements applicable in this district, along with, and you've all heard these before, but if you get to section 25.7.4, specifications for all driveway, off-street parking, storm drains, and landscaping shall be subject to the commission's approval. All that was submitted to you and described to you at the public hearing. Section 25.7.6, all portions of lot not used for buildings and other structures or paved, driveways, sidewalks, or off-street parking and loading shall be suitably landscaped. The landscaping plan was represented to the commission along with parking shade tree locations to be consistent with that portion of the regulation. And of course, the section 25.7.7, you must also make a finding as part of a special permit application that the development shown on the site plan and architectural plan shall be of such character to harmonize with the neighborhood, to accomplish a transition in character between areas of unlike character, protect property values in the neighborhood, preserve and enhance the appearance and beauty of the community, and avoid undue traffic congestion. And the applicant, during the hearing, addressed most of that with his presentation. That, Mr. Chairman, is pretty much what was presented at the public hearing.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion approved by Commissioner Cannelli and seconded by Commissioner Alessi.
You know, undoubtedly, we all mourn the passing of Blins. However, you know, it meets the harmony test of 25.77. Downtown, that area is a place where a host of folks avail themselves of, you know, medical services, office services. I thought the building itself, the design was an attractive design. While I love Blins, the barn was never particularly a favorite of mine when I get off the train. It was nothing to shout home about. But I thought the Franzen design with the brick and all seemed to do a nice job of kind of blending into the neighborhood. And it seems like a reasonable reuse, a quick reuse and turnaround with if kids aren't at least buying toys, they all keep, they buy them all on the internet now, at least they're still getting stuffy noses and fevers and things like that, so this will be good for that. So I urge my colleagues to support it.
It also removes a pre-existing nonconformity and
Good.
brings the development into consistency with our zoning. Anyone else have any comments?
I'd just like to add that the practice that's moving into this building has been a staple in Fairfield for as long as I can remember, and there's been doctors to thousands of kids in town, including mine, so I'm just happy that the people that are moving into this town have been in this town forever. So I wholeheartedly support this application.
Mr. Barrett?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the best, you know, we may miss Blins, but, you know, given the property location, the zoning, an office or medical office is probably the best use of this property, also, because it's also off the post road, but it's still in the center design district, so it conforms with our architectural and community design standards for that district. As has been said, it's an attractive building, well architected, better landscaped, it's gonna look better than what was there, and, again, it's a good use of the building, so I support it.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. No conditions on this, right?
Just your standard condition, there was a list of engineering comments that were included in the plans. They will be included, but that's just our standard bond. A bond will be,
Bonds and all that stuff?
Yep.
Okay. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? And the item carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is a planning update on our POCD.
Yeah, over the last year or so, I and also the chairman have been involved with the process that the Greater Bridgeport Regional Planning Agency is going through updating the regional plan of conservation and development. They're pretty close to concluding that. One great portion, and this is what I'm going to talk about you tonight, it goes along with something that Seth Barrett was mentioning a couple months ago, is all the existing conditions have been updated, and let me pass this out to you right now, you can take a quick look at it. Just pass this along. If you remember what I mentioned to you last couple of months ago, is that what we have done is contact the Greater Bridgeport. They are going to assist us in basically updating our current plan of conservation development. And as you all know, there has been already some sections that have been amended. Specifically, they had to do with the Commerce Drive area. Oh, everyone have a copy? And the pedestrian and bike improvements, also transit movements, and improvement, vehicle circulation proposals. All already been to hearing, approved, but what we want to do now, and as I mentioned to you a couple months ago, is kind of take our current plan document and add and edit all of what has already been approved, along with updating what is described in this outline that I've given to you. If you remember the last time, what they mentioned is this information, they were done with their existing conditions for the regional PODC in June of 2015, as I mentioned here. They are going to be providing to us next month, if you remember your copy of your yellow plan of constant development, the whole first section is going to be amended with all the information they list here, updated along with the, as I mentioned, the complete street bike and ped plan. They'll integrate the Commerce Drive stationary plan that we approved, also the long-range transit plan and bike ped plan that we all have been reviewed and approved will all be edited into a new draft document. What I will be doing then with that is just doing some minor edits to it and get that document to you all. What you'll do is we'll take that, review it, make whatever comments or questions you might have on it, and then send that to hearing with all this amended. Once that, and I'm anticipating that would take a couple months to complete. Once that's done, the second part of the commission's review of this then, and as if you're familiar with the plan, the second section of our plan of conservation development, what it does is it essentially highlights major neighborhoods in our community, and it identifies characteristics, positive characteristics that identify that neighborhood, and we list policies and procedures to maintain those positive attributes. What I was recommending, if you remember last time, a couple months ago, and the commission thought it was not a bad idea, is once we have this portion of the plan completed, which will be essentially next month, we would then go neighborhood by neighborhood and review what is outlined in our second section of our plan of conservation development, and basically amend and update that. Once we're done through that process, we'll have a final hearing for that section, and then we'll be done. But this will bring, actually it's catching up. This will help amend and edit our current plan so it puts into place the stuff we've already approved, the major improvements that we've done, along with updating the important snapshot of where we are with, and we're very, very lucky that the timing on this is tremendous, because the amount, and I know the chairman has seen some of this information, the amount of updated information that the Greater Bridgeport has now with the process they've gone through to do our regional plan is going to be fantastic. I mean, the plan will be right up to date with all the stuff that's listed on this outline here. So that's what I wanted to kind of bring you up to speed on. I know I mentioned, I think back a couple months ago when Seth had mentioned about it, that it was going to be October, and they've kept to that, the Greater Bridgeport has kept to that schedule, so we will have that document next month. I'll do some light editing to it, and I'll get it to you, we'll get it to hearing.
Commissioner Barracks?
I just have a question. I think this is great, John. Thank you for this overview and
Yeah,
the
no
plan.
problem.
It seems well thought out. When we said October, when it says staff provides town of Fairfield with the update, the existing, are you guys going to present it to us? And then
Yeah.
we're going to have a public hearing? When you
Yes.
say town of Fairfield, you mean?
Yes, what Greater
maybe
Bridgeport's gonna
just-
do is submit a draft, a revised plan, actually edited, basically.
So
We'll
we've
have
been
this
working
with
with
everything updated.
Yeah, so we've been working with GBRC over the last, 9 months in their effort to update the regional master plan. And of course, Fairfield is a pretty big geography in the region, and, the various data points in our master plan go back to 2000, census information, 2000. And like, that's an example. So as part of this process, they really revised substantially all of the data points that we have in our master plan, including, census information, tract information, streets and maps, and all that stuff that's listed here. So in combination between our office and GBRC staff, we're getting a revision to the first section of our master plan. We're going to take that, look at it, edit it, we'll circulate it here to us for our comments and any additional information that we want to consider. We could have another planning meeting to discuss that draft document if we all thought that was important or, could be constructive. That document would then go to a public hearing to be adopted as a revision to our master plan. Once that revision is adopted, we would then turn our attention to the next section in the document, which is all of the neighborhoods in different areas. It's important, it was important to me, frankly, to get a revision in the books with all of the data and details for these different plans and things that we have adopted and accomplished over the last years, like the Commerce Drive Station Area Plan and the Bike and Pedestrian Plan and the Long Range Transit Plan and all this stuff that exists but is not in our master plan, And the revision, the supplement that we adopted in 2010 satisfied our obligation to update the master plan, but we're under a 10-year obligation to do a revision. And this is, now we're getting out in front. We're catching up, but we're getting out in front because it's 2015. It's going to be 2016 by the time we're really going neighborhood to neighborhood. We'll have time to study this and to do another comprehensive revision even before, 2020, and we'll be well ahead of the curve. So
I was just
that's
wondering,
the plan.
it seems like, it's just go back to, previous planning time. It seems good, like this demographic and all the first section, and then stuff we've already adopted that we need to consolidate.
Right.
That seems like it could come back to us, and we review it, maybe have a planning meeting, maybe have a public hearing. Definitely have a public hearing.
Definitely.
And we're the only ones that can adopt it. On the other stuff, I realize this is 2016, do you see it like, is this us doing it, or, the last time we had a planning group, so usually with that, you're involving people, to talk about neighborhoods and policies,
Yeah.
people beyond the Plan and Zoning
Yeah.
Commission. I recognize that for this first thing, it's probably good enough for talking about neighborhoods and policies, that might be something, again, it's a next year thing we want to do with
Right.
a larger group and have some structure around that.
Well, the other thing that we could do is we could schedule a public hearing for a neighborhood, for one of the sections, and have people come in and testify if they wanted to. You got neighborhood associations and neighborhood groups that, have their own thoughts and comments on the sections, We have different citizen groups that aren't necessarily tied to a particular neighborhood, but that have an interest in the townwide, aspect of our master plan that should come and be able to come and give us input on that
Okay.
process.
So we're going to be seeking
So,
input on that while this process.
That is my goal,
Okay.
yes.
I just, I want to go on the record saying I strongly support your approach. I think that the idea of us doing a series of discrete public hearings, neighborhood to neighborhood.
Right.
Makes the most sense. It's foolish for us not to do it in a manner that lets neighborhood stakeholders and everyone else engage like that. So
Right.
it would certainly make 2016 potentially a really meaningful year in terms of our planning. As to the first part of this, first, great that they did this work, and great that you guys coordinated, and you did long service and dealing with those kind of regional issues. But I also think that what's great is that a lot of this stuff is essentially data. So we'll certainly get a chance to review it, but it's nothing that you can't Google and under.
Well-
Well, not Google. Probably not that easy. But the point is, it's still built on data,
Yes.
as opposed to what we're talking about in the second part.
It's
of
not
this, which is-
subjective.
It's not subjective, and it's not what we're talking about in the second half of this kind of a process.
What's important, though, is it's a good base.
Right.
For you to have this snapshot of where you are at with this information when you go in to make your recommendations. so
about various
that-
naiborhoods in terms
Yeah.
of what may
Correct.
have changed. Fair
That's
enough.
exactly.
Right,
And you know, critically, and this is really not subject to Google, although maybe like Google Earth or whatever, but it'd be better to download, like updated maps and sewer plan
Right.
and infrastructure and long-range transit plan, and, you know, all that stuff is going to be integrated into an updated master plan, which, like you say, would be the base
Yeah.
to jump off into, you know, each of the neighborhoods. And, you know, like I said, while we're catching up, we're also getting ahead of the curve, because our major revision technically is not due until 2020, right? So, listen, if we can get this done, you know, 16, 17, it would be great. And it will also be wonderful for the citizens of the town to see that we're engaged in the process and that they have an opportunity to input and all that kind of stuff, so. Okay, yes,
I don't
Mr.
know whether
Bull.
this is a question or an observation. I remember when I first read through the plan 2 years ago, you know, I was impressed. I also had a little bit of a sense of it lacked prioritization. It was so full of good stuff, and after a while it all read like motherhood and apple pie. And I was left with no sense of what are we really going to accomplish in the next 10 years. And I don't know if it's possible to even do that.
Well,
because
what you would hope, and what, the way that, the need, or the reason, one of the technical reasons for having this is you'd want any of your zone amendments and regulations, which essentially is your plan of development for the town, is your zoning and subdivision
fit
regulations,
within this big
are
umbrella.
consistent with these. And frankly, any change you make, and you've heard it through our hearings that we've had on certain amendments, either we made them or the public makes an amendment, they always refer to different sections in this plan to kind of justify. Now, this does, in and of itself, it has no legal authority. You can't approve or deny something just solely on the plan. But what's important, essentially, about what you're saying is, if you have characteristics like we have in this plan that identify a particular neighborhood, and then the positive ones, you want to make sure you set policies here that can direct you in creating zoning regulations, which is your plan of development for that area. So that's where you get
Okay.
what you're looking for out of it.
Policy.
That's the tool. The tool is the zoning regulations.
God bless you.
I mean, you'll see as a condition of a requirement for approval often that it isn't, you know, conformance or, you know, with the master
Consistent.
plan, consistent, thank you, consistent with the plan of conservation and development. And so ultimately, that plan, while it's also, I mean, I never think of it as an action document necessarily in terms of what we might accomplish, but more what oftentimes are the parameters in which we want to kind of view how the various neighborhoods that comprise the community will remain or will grow. So, you know, I mean,
So maybe I'm just thinking of-
Yeah, but I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
in other words, I don't know if you can create a hierarchy within it, necessarily editorially, but the point is that within each subsection, certainly there may be, I mean, some folks may feel that, you know, a certain amount of additional commercial development versus residential development in a neighborhood should be looked at in terms of what you describe in that goal for that town. But, you know, you just
In
have
the
to say.
context of the corporate strategic. plan,
Right, exactly.
You always have trade-offs, and you have to lay out your
Okay.
priorities, let them trade off and bump into one another, you know what your priorities are.
Right.
Maybe we don't need to do that.
Well, it's a different kind of
I think what you
document, but-
learned is there are always some trade-offs and compromises when you start writing zoning regulations,
Right.
because,
We deal with them one by one.
yeah, right. So this kind of a plan kind of gives you a context where you get an overall view, so you're not nitpicking or,
Yeah.
push a button here and 5 other buttons pop up someplace else.
We're
It's
not
kind-
inventing it on the fly.
Exactly.
Well, it also gives neighbors an understanding of what, and business owners, and a better understanding of where their businesses are established and where they're living, where they are. In other words,
Yeah.
when you look at the POCD and you've moved into a particular neighborhood, you hope that essentially the decisions we make are governed by what that vision for the neighborhood is there. And the process the chairman's laid out is one that I think will allow the residents and the stakeholders, business people and the like, to engage and to kind of shape that. So there is, to some extent, what you're looking for, which is that desire for, a forward-looking vision.
Thank you all.
Good. Anybody else? No? All right. Any other business? We're good. That's the end of the agenda. I'll adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, thank you.
You're just gonna